What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex. In this video, I want to discuss if we could get a Life is Strange game, or if a Life is Strange game could release in 2020. Now, I'm back. I want to talk more about Life is Strange in a non-criticism kind of way, and this is kind of going to be the way that we go about things over the next months, couple years, until we do get another Life is Strange property, because there's, Season 2 is over, it's finished, and it's time to move on and talk about really what comes next for this franchise, which we actually talked about an entire video about that, and to now give like a year to it, to say, is 2020 the year? Well, since that video and since episode 5 of season 2 came out, we do know that Don't Nod has talked a little bit about a third game, mainly that it's probably going to happen. And they've talked about, they would like to do that as long as everything lines up, which seemingly confirms that it's going to happen. It's going to take several years, and it's going to be focusing on different characters, a different story, a different setting. Fantastic. I would throw a party for that decision. When the game actually comes out, I will definitely applaud them for that as well. But like I just said a few seconds ago, if that's the case, it's going to take some time. This is not a 2020 kind of thing. They were saying how they started working on this 4 years ago, which from when the first episode came out, they were working on around 2.5 to maybe 2 years and 9 months, let's say, before the first episode of season 2 release. So even if they started working on it right now, which honestly I do think they would, or even if they didn't do it right now, I think honestly they could have already started even when they were wrapping up this season. Gaming development teams do that literally all the time. They have a kind of a game on the back burner that gets slightly more attention the more the newer game starts to be completed. So it wouldn't shock me at all that they've kind of worked on a new thing for 3, 4, 5, 6 months. Like, that's definitely possible, but still, that really makes it like 2 years. 2 years at the absolute minimum that I think we would get a game. I think if they were to follow the same trail as season 2, I honestly feel like 2022, maybe the summer of 2022, is when we would get Life is Strange 3. Now, this video isn't necessarily talking about Life is Strange 3, more or less, and this is where the biggest, I guess, hope for, if you want Life is Strange to be around in your life, other than me talking about it, which I don't know why you wouldn't, in 2020, is Before the Storm, is Deck 9 Games, is, they are a development team that hasn't worked on anything since that game, okay? And they've been very, very radio silent. Nobody's really spoken up as to what there were, and at least in terms of when wouldn't it be funny if right after I recorded this that happened, but from when I'm recording this, nothing has been said. Hopefully that does change rather soon, and it's not impossible that it does. I think Deck 9, even you look back at what Before the Storm did, it got announced at that E3, I believe at Microsoft's E3, and it came out that summer. It started coming out, so they are a studio, and even I believe Don't Nod as well. I believe they announced Life is Strange 2, and that came out. So they're a development studio that I think likes doing. We've talked a lot about the difference between studios that announce something and then they come out like years later versus studios that announce something and they come out, within that calendar year. This Life is Strange, the property, definitely seems to be one. Square Enix, as the publisher for these games, they feel very confident in announcing it, and then the game comes out shortly after. So isn't it possible that Before the Storm 2, let's say, gets announced, and I'm not necessarily saying it has to be Before the Storm, but people have said it for a very, very long time. Is it possible that gets announced at this E3, this coming E3, or even like a side thing? This E3 is going to be talking a lot about next generation games, and there's obviously a long, long list of games that I think you could put higher on priorities for Microsoft, for Sony, for any of these companies or any of these publishers than Life is Strange. Okay, but Square Enix being the publisher, Square Enix has to have some games as well. Now, we know there are games, especially Tell Me Why, I believe is the game from Don't Nod that comes out this upcoming August of 2020. So Don't Nod is making games in the between time between this and Life is Strange. They're definitely a company that's fastly growing, and you're going to see more and more games come out. But Life is Strange obviously is probably their number one priority, or at least the thing that they're most well known for. So I think the biggest chance we have is Deck 9 showing up at some point, or just even announcing on their own and saying, hey, we have a new Life is Strange game. And, it makes a lot of sense. Life is Strange is a franchise that you they don't want to go away. It is an actual franchise, right? It's got multiple installments now, different companies even working on it. There's a lot there, and there's a lot of stories that can still be told. Truth be told, I'd really like to see what Deck 9 could do just given a clean slate. I would have loved, and then we've talked about that before, if Deck 9 could have just made Season 2. Give them their own characters, give them their own area, and tell them to just go out and make it. I think they did Chloe and Rachel and Max in terms of the farewell episode. I think they all did them fantastic justice in their work, and I think that if they're going to do it again, which is a discussion for a different video, or even when it eventually gets announced, you could say, well, why do they keep getting pushed off and pushed into this kind of like a retread of something that we've already seen before? That's a fair criticism, or that's a fair even discussion that we could have. But it's a franchise that they want to keep around. It's a franchise that I don't think you want to have too many years off. And they, for so far, even since the first Life is Strange game came out, they've done a decently well job of packing in, Life is Strange, and then the Before the Storm, and then the farewell episode, which was a little bit after that, and then the Awesome Adventures of Captain Spirit, and then Life is Strange 2. They've really kept these episodes and these blocks of time filled because of the different iterations, the different properties of Life is Strange, filling in those gaps. They've actually done a pretty reasonable job of basically not having us have that much time off from Life is Strange, right? And if you're a diehard Life is Strange fan, or just, again, to keep the property around, you always do want new-ish things coming out. Obviously, there's the comic series as well, so they do a lot of different things to keep Life is Strange coming at us. In terms of, main big video games, here's what I'll say. I don't think Life is Strange 3 is the next Life is Strange game we'll get. Would we get a Deck 9 game in 2020? I don't know. Honestly, I would say it's not all that likely. I would say no more than I would say yes, but I don't think it's impossible. I think what's more likely is 2021 we get their game, and then that way 2022 we get Life is Strange 3. I think no matter what happens, they don't want more than a year in between when you get their game. So if there's a year off, and if 2020 is that year off, then 2021 would be, say, Deck 9s, and then 2022 would be Don't Nods, or I guess it could be, Before the Storm 2 or whatever Deck 9 games in 2020. Then 2021 there's nothing, and then 2022 there's it again. So no matter what, you only have a year off in between anything. I think honestly, and I don't have any insiders, I don't have any leaks. I'm just saying my personal opinion. It seems like they don't want more than a year off in terms of when we receive a Life is Strange game, and when they have different development teams being able to work on them, that definitely does help it out. And for as much as I hate Season 2, as much as I hated it, I do kind of like their strategy of having two different studios that can do it, maybe two different time periods. Don't Nod is kind of all about jumping around, right? Like every main installment is about different characters, a different story, and then maybe Deck 9, I hate to say it, maybe Deck 9 does a story with Sean and Daniel now for their second game instead of I guess Chloe being the reoccurring character. Maybe they do that. So maybe Deck 9's always kind of doing like that add-on adventure for the characters that Don't Nod creates. I don't actually love that specific aspect. I would prefer Deck 9 to just do their own thing, but if that is their strategy so far, I would say, people don't necessarily love Before the Storm. I actually really liked it. I don't think there's a universal love for Before the Storm, but I do think you could, I hope you could at least agree with me that I think their strategy is working. I think they have confidence in their strategy. I think so far this is what they've done. I think they're going to be continuing that going forward. So guys, let me know in the comments below. I personally would say no. I don't think we'll get a Life is Strange game in 2020, although I do think it's possible. If we would, I feel like E3 would be the time that we would get an announcement that would come out somewhere in the summer. I think 2021 is a whole lot more likely, but I don't think we're going to be away from the franchise all that long. But again, let me know in the comments below, what are your thoughts? When do you think we'll see the next game? Who do you think will be making it? What do you think it'll be about? All those things, let me know in the comments below. Make sure if you guys like these kinds of videos, you guys like the video, in terms of the literal video, let me know in the comments below as well. Make sure you guys are subscribed, have that bell icon hit. We're going to continue talking about Life is Strange, probably more like once a month thing from now on going forward, until we get more information, until maybe a trailer or a leak or an announcement or something about the next game. Until then, we'll be doing it probably every month. I would say you can expect at least one video, okay? So thank you all so much for watching, so much for your support. I greatly, greatly appreciate it. I hope to see you all on the next video.